We're good? Okay. All right, we will call the meeting of the Minnesota Supervised Release Board to order. And we'll start with a roll call of members. Board Member Christine Bray.
Here.
Member Joel Earhart.
Here.
Member Andrew Larson.
Here.
Member Cheryl Ramstad.
Here.
And Paul Schnell is present. Today, all cases that we will be hearing are adult cases. There were no certified youth invited, so there will not be the additional members that would otherwise be necessary. And with that, we will call the first case.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrew Carlson. I'm the Assistant Director of the Hearings and Release Unit. We're here today to review Mr. Eugene Rushton, who is participating via live stream from the Minnesota Correctional Facility at Stillwater. Participating by video stream is member Joe Earhart. Here at Central Office of the Department of Corrections is Commissioner Schnell. He is also the chair of the Supervised Release Board, along with member Cheryl Ramstad, Christine Bray, and Andrew Larson. Our records indicate that on May 27th, 2011, Clay County deputies were dispatched to Felton regarding an assault. Upon arrival, a female, initials CW, told deputies that Eugene Rushton had sexually assaulted her daughter. A deputy spoke with Mr. Rushton and asked what had happened. Mr. Rushton stated that he had been upstairs drinking when he came down and touched his daughter. He stated that he had pulled down her pants and underwear and began to rub her butt and vagina, and that his fingers did slip into her vagina. Deputies spoke with the victim, who indicated she had fallen asleep on the couch, fully clothed, and when she awoke, Mr. Rushton had his fingers inside her vagina. The victim yelled and he stopped and went to bed. Mr. Rushton was then arrested. Subsequently, Mr. Rushton was convicted of criminal sexual conduct in the first degree on July 6th, 2011 in Clay County District Court for the conviction of criminal sexual conduct in the first degree. And for having 2 prior sex offenses, Mr. Rushton was sentenced to a life sentence with the possibility of parole in 25 years. That sentence was ultimately appealed, and the Supreme Court affirmed the district or the Court of Appeals decision to impose a sentence that would allow Mr. Rushton to be eligible for parole after serving 216 months, which is 18 years. Today's review is Mr. Rushton's first review by the board, and he has served approximately 15 years incarceration. Mr. Rushton's parole eligibility date is March 25th, 2029. Thank you, and I turn this matter over to the board.
Good morning, Mr. Rushton. How are you today?
Good.
I'd like to start off by asking you to tell the board what it is you'd like to see happen as a result of today's meeting.
Well, I've been trying to get into the treatment in Lionel. I've sent several sites. They kept refusing me. They said I had to see the board first before I could get in 2026.
Okay.
So I'd like to get help to do that, to get the treatment done.
So can you talk about a little bit about what you believe your need is for treatment? Do you think it's necessary?
Yeah, I think it's necessary because I mean I don't want to continue doing this. I mean I was abused by my father's child, and I think that's part of it. And I think I need help in this area to teach me ways to cope with it and how to deal with it.
Okay. If when you think about, so you indicated that it was your own victimization that you think is a part of this, right?
Yeah.
What do you anticipate the challenges to be with going into treatment?
Well, I think, I mean, to deal with the past is going to be the hardest part, I guess. Bringing up in really abusive when I was a child. But I know I have to do that to get better, so.
Okay. All right. Right now, you're at Stillwater, correct?
Yes,
And how has that been?
it's been great. It's really nice here.
And as there is both a need for SO treatment, but it sounds like also substance use disorder treatment is recommended.
Yes.
Would you, just by way of preference, would how would you like to do this? You indicated that you've been trying to or like to get into SO treatment, which would typically be done at Lino. And there are ways that SUD could be, there's an integrated program, which takes a little bit longer, but that would be an option. Or you could do Atlantis treatment there at Stillwater. Have you thought about that at all?
I think I'd rather do triad. I don't know. I've heard better things about the triad treatment in Lionel than I have the Atlantis program. So,
Okay. All right.
from people that have already done it. So,
All right. So that would be going over to
yeah.
Just a question. I mean, obviously you have a life sentence here, which means that that you're eligible for release in 2029, so roughly 3 years from now. If as you think about that, what do you think beyond treatment is going to be necessary for your success in the community?
I think for me to keep going to AA meetings and stuff, and stay away from the alcohol. All my cases were alcohol related. So I also need treatment for that to stay away from all that. And support, I have pretty good support out there now, though. So,
Do you feel like you have an adequate outside support system, or has that been largely diminished over the course of time?
well, my family hasn't taught me, but I'm a baptized Jehovah's Witness since I've been in prison, and I have a lot of support from the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom
From the-
halls out there.
Right, from the church community? Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you, how does that manifest? So how do you see or how do you connect with those church members
My phone.
by phone?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to just open this up to other questions from other board members.
Mr. Rushton, Joe Earhart here. I had a question about your previous treatment experience. I see that you've been in treatment twice before. Once you were in for 3 to 4 months, and once you actually completed a year of treatment, and then you reoffended with this current offense. And what went wrong in that? Well, I won't say what went wrong. What might be different in the future if the state were to invest another year or so in treatment for you than this 1 year that you attended?
Well, I hadn't done alcohol treatment. I was still drinking, and then when I got out, I was reoffending because of drinking, and the alcohol and had a lot to do with it.
So you're saying it was entirely alcohol? Had you not addressed that as an aspect of your offending and treatment?
Well, I'd say I had a good part of it. Yeah, I would say that's.
Do you think that 1 year of treatment was just wasted? That's quite a long treatment program.
I don't think it was wasted. I mean, I learned stuff in there, but when I didn't do alcohol treatment, that's when I reoffended because I kept going out and drinking. And
What would you foresee as being different if you did get into and complete treatment this time?
I think because I want it this time. I really want to help. I don't think before I actually wanted help. This time I do.
Mhm.
Because I don't want this to ever happen again. Yeah.
You didn't want to help before?
Really, no, I don't think I did. I didn't feel I needed it before. Now I feel that need.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Other questions?
I have a couple of questions. Why didn't you write to
Chris,
the
can you-
parole board?
Can you go out a little closer?
Mr. Rushton, why didn't you write a letter to us? Thought that was a little unusual.
I didn't know I was supposed to write a letter.
Could you say that again?
I didn't know I was supposed to write a letter to the parole
Oh,
board.
okay. All right. And then when did you start asking at the DOC to get into treatment? How long ago did you start asking?
Well, and when they did, one in Rush City in 22, they sent me over there to do PFA and then treatment. So as soon as I completed PFA, I tried to get into the treatment programs. They told me they wouldn't interview me until 2026.
Thank you.
Mr. Rushton, you indicate that there's, from your perspective, there's a direct correlation between substance use and your offending behavior. Have you been through chemical dependency treatment previously?
Well, years ago.
You're like, do you have
92.
92? Okay. So the other thing that I noted is when you met with the program review team, you had indicated that you don't feel that you're at risk to reoffend in the future, or at least that's what's indicated in our packet. What makes you so confident of that? Like, why do you feel that? What assurance would we have as board members?
Because I guess 'cause I don't want to do it anymore. I mean, I've set my mind to that. I'm not going to, but I still feel I need help to do the treatment to make that stronger if I don't. Maybe find ways out there that they can teach me to cope with the stress, I guess, and stuff.
So you think it'll just come down to you being committed this time
Yeah.
versus previous times you weren't committed?
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Rushton?
Mr. Rushton, why is it that you are requesting specifically Lino Lakes as opposed to the Stillwater Atlantis program? I know you were at Lino Lakes before for PFA. Does that have anything to do with it, or what's your reason for being specific to Lino Lakes as opposed to where the professionals determine that you would be best suited and treated?
I guess it's just what I've heard from other inmates about the Atlantis program. I mean, they say it's not as good as the Triad one, and some that have been through it have told me that they didn't like the Atlantis program that are here.
Can you be more specific?
Well, they said they're I get in trouble there, they get locked down a lot. I mean, and they're like one guy told me today, he said you have to have someone come and check when you clean the microwave, make sure that you cleaned it. I don't know, I just think that's kind of petty, I guess. I've never heard of that in Triad, so.
It was more about the rules than it was about the treatment program itself?
No, more about the rules that they have, yeah.
What did you get out of PFA when you were at Lino Lakes?
I learned a lot about myself in PFA. I mean, I always thought I didn't matter in life, but PFA taught me that we all matter. We all have a purpose in life. We just have to sometimes have help to find that purpose. we did the identity class to help you find out who you were, and just basically, I think I shows you that you are somebody, you know, that you, and we do matter to the world. Sometimes you just feel, I felt like I didn't in the past, you know.
I see that the most recent certificate that you've gotten is for restorative justice in December of 24. What did you get out of that program? And how did it apply to you personally?
Restorative justice kind of, a lot of that brought tears to my eyes, because seeing the victims of that, people that came in and talked to the people, even when they came and apologized to people at jail, and they forgave them for what they'd done, and you know, I was like, that's kind of hit a sore spot. You know, I mean, I've had victims and I had people that I hurt. You know, and I guess I want to hope one day that they'll forgive me for what I did. You know.
Did you have to apply for the earned living unit?
Yes.
And how long have you been in that unit?
I got here December 4th last year. So about 4 months.
And what's been your experience in the ELU?
Been really good. I mean, it's the main thing that we all like is the single cells, and we'll have to have a roommate. It's enjoyable being here. I mean, I know a lot of the guys here that's in our city with them, and we get along good. And there's been no conflicts or arguments, really. I mean,
Okay, Mr. Rushton, I'm a little confused. As recently as December of 25, you were interviewed and said you wished to take advantage of the employment and program opportunities available at Stillwater. What changed your mind in that 2.5 month period?
well, when I got here, I mean, I heard they had the anger management class, which a lot of the other places didn't have. So I wanted to get into that for sure. I actually just completed that. I did at what first I thought about the Atlantis program, but and I got here. Some of the guys said they didn't really care for the program, and so I don't know, just made me a little leery of it. I guess some of them said Triad was better, so.
Well, this was December of 25, and that you said you wanted to participate in programs at Stillwater. What programs were you referring to?
No, the ELU. I mean, because they said it was the earned living unit. We could get a single cell. They didn't have to have a cellmate. It was, I think, the main thing. Like, well, I want to come over here. And I've had a cellmate for the last 14 years. I mean, some good, some bad. I mean,
But as I understand it, you were in the ELU as of the first week of December, right?
yeah.
So why 3 weeks later were you saying you wanted to participate in programming at Stillwater? What were you referring to? You were already in the ELU.
Yeah, that was anger management, anxiety classes. I've tried decision points, but they don't have that one here. I tried several times getting that. And Lionel, but could get me refused also for that too.
So there were no specific programs you had in mind when you said that?
Not Pacific, no.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
I had just a follow-up question based on what Cheryl had asked. So it sounds like, and I've been through Stillwater, so I've seen the earned living unit, and I recognize that it's certainly more comfortable and has a different feel than probably what you have experienced throughout your incarceration. Is that a primary motivator for you wanting to be there, is just because it's more comfortable for you?
Well, yeah, it is more comfortable. I mean, it's a lot of much stress. I mean, in the other prisons, you have a lot of stress. I mean, you gotta watch behind you. You know, if someone's gonna come up behind you, want to fight them, especially being a sex offender. I mean, there's people who don't want to associate with you, or always want to try to extort you, or and here there ain't none of that.
Sure. No, and that certainly is a fair response. Do you think that, so long term, is that going to serve you best, or, really, digging down and participating in programs that may ultimately benefit you and then ultimately benefit public safety if and when you are released? I mean, do you understand kind of where I'm going with that? I certainly understand that their living unit is more comfortable, but are you sacrificing participation in treatment to be more comfortable?
Well, kinda, I guess, yeah. I mean, because like I said, you got in the other prison, you got to watch your back. I mean, you don't know who's coming up behind you. I mean, here you don't feel that way, so.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rushton, a question, just I want to build on that question. One of the objectives of ELU is to provide an environment where, because there is maybe less of the quote unquote prison politics and those sorts of issues, that you can engage more and have more focus on your issues, your needs, those sorts of things. Has your placement in ELU just made you more comfortable, or has it aided your ability to give thought to the range of issues that you need to address in your life?
I think it's gave me more thought on how to, to get the classes done and it's more of a group community like here. I mean, and learning how to get along with people even, So, I mean, like I said, there's no arguments, and you can come and talk to anybody. I mean, they're respectful,
Yeah, and I think clearly that's important, and that's one of the objectives. But I also think one of the things that we don't want these options and programs to be is comfortable to the point where people don't feel like the pressure to address and their issues and gain insight into themselves and their offending. So that's one of the key factors, and I think that's a little bit of the question that Board Member Larson was trying to get at. Okay, Mr. Rushton, before the board begins discussion and deliberation about next steps, I want to briefly open the floor to you for any final comment.
I guess basically I just want, if you guys can help me get into the treatment programs where I can, because I mean, I've been applying and they've been turning me down. I want to get in there and better myself. That's why I've been taking these other classes I've taken. So.
Okay. All right. With that, we will close this portion of the discussion, and during board discussion and deliberation, the board will not entertain any questions or allow interruptions. And with that, I would open this to the board for discussion and next steps.
Well, I'd like to make a motion, deny parole. I'm really torn between continuing for 3 years, so he feels some pressure, or 5 years, because I think he has a lot of work to do. So my conditions would be, I think the obvious ones: complete sex offender treatment, SUD treatment, get engaged in programming when he has time, if he's sitting around waiting to get into those programs. And I'm really concerned about his support network. His support network is a niece, and a great niece. And I think given his history, he's got to really expand that. So
Okay, if there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Further discussion?
I am confused. Was it 3 years or 5 years? I would vote in favor of 5 years, but not 3. So that's why I'm asking for clarification. 5 years. Okay.
I know in other hearings where we've had, their eligibility date is a hard date. I know we've been somewhat limited in it. Is that the case with this as well?
I think generally speaking, because as he does become eligible at that point in time, we generally have seen them here and then at that 3-year mark, because that is their statutory eligibility date. And so that has been largely the standard. And just to make sure, I think also to make sure that there's some progress being made. Certainly, I think, Mr. Rushton would need to understand that the board could, deny at that point in time and then, provide a much longer period of time. And, whether or not he is able to complete all that he would need to complete between now and then remains to be seen. Some of that will be dependent upon him. So I think 3 is probably more in line with the statutorily what we've done because of their eligibility.
Is there would there potentially be a mechanism to do 5 as the other members suggested with a 3-year off ramp if various conditions have been met, or does that not really come into play?
I think it would be harder in this case because of his statutory eligibility. We certainly could do that. I think the challenge becomes that I think there would need to be some review that would need to occur at that at the statutory eligibility date, no matter what.
Can we do something like we've done in the past, that we would consider an earlier hearing if?
Yeah, the one thing I guess the one challenge is that, let's just say for instance that he does SUD separate from SO treatment, and what we condition that on may not be entirely within his ability to make happen. So there could be systemic limitations, and then the question does become: are we creating barriers that to his eligibility strictly based on system challenges versus his own?
Well, that's primarily why I was thinking 5 years, because he's got a lot to do.
Right.
And if he can't get in right away, why would we come back in 3 if he's still in the same mental and physical space he's in now?
And I think that's a fair question. I do think that if he were to be prioritized, if the board establishes this plan, and for instance, if he were to do both the merged SO and SUD treatment program at Lino, it would be a 24-month hitch, and he would be able to conceivably complete that. But even if he, let's say he was nearing the end of that by the time the board saw him, it could be the opportunity for that extension, could be there. I just think that it's tough when we look at that statutory eligibility date, not to give him a review at that time. So I think that has been the historic challenge that we've historically, since I've been here, legal has always recommended that we see them at that statutory eligibility date. And then what happens from there, I think, can be varied dramatically.
Okay, well, with that said, I appreciate that legal has advised that. Then I would say deny and continue 3 years.
And I would maintain my second.
Okay, so that motion and a second stands with the conditions of SO treatment, SUD treatment, engagement in any other pro-social programming, really developing that support network and a release plan, which would be a part of the treatment protocol anyway, remaining discipline-free, would also be a requirement as a base expectation. Any other issues or things that people would like to see added?
I noted that actually Atlantis was recommended as the treatment program in the program review notes of January 23rd, 26. Wasn't convinced by what his reasons were for wanting Lino Lakes, that was legitimate or good. I would leave that in the hands of the people at the department to decide which treatment program, and without specifying any.
Yeah, I'm not specifying anything. His SO treatment would be at Lino. And it would be up to the program staff to determine the best location for his treatment programming across the board. All right, there's a motion and a second with the expectations laid out. We'll call the vote. Board Member Bray,
Yes.
Board Member Earhart,
Yes.
Board Member Larson,
Yes.
Board Member Ramstead,
Yes.
and Schnell votes yes. Mr. Rushton, you've heard the discussion of the board. I think if I were to just give you a takeaway, it probably can go without saying, but I would really encourage you to double down over the next 3 years. And, we'll certainly do our part to communicate with the treatment programs to get you prioritized. But I think the overall and general feeling of the board is that you have considerable work to do. And I'll just say this on a personal note. I think, motivation, and you talked about this in your previous, with the previous treatment that you did, that you maybe didn't have the same level of motivation. There's a part of what I hear in you is somewhat a level of comfort and perhaps motivation that's more about checking the box than it is about desire for change. And I could be completely wrong, but I would just really strongly encourage you to give thoughtful consideration to what your needs are and to double down, if it is your wish, to truly be considered for further step down or moving forward when you come back before the board in 2029. Any questions?
No, I agree with what you said, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Good luck to you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, every time I scoop my chair on, I feel like I'm right in your way.
It's okay, because they want to check. Serving us, then I just move back. Don't worry about it.
You're afraid to push me, so. I can see that when I sit back, then I don't show up on the screen.
Yeah. I do. If they have any
reaction.
Where?
We're working on getting the room.
Okay.
These workers said it would maybe be 2 more minutes.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
Hello, can you guys hear us okay?
Yes, we can. Can you hear us?
Loud and clear, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andrew Carlson. I'm the Assistant Director of the Hearings and Release Unit. We're here today to review Mr. James Leroy Scott, who's participating via live stream from the Minnesota Correctional Facility at Lino Lakes. Mr. Scott also has an advocate participating via WebEx today, Mr. Justin McNeil. Mr. McNeil, thank you for participating today. Joe Earhart, member of the Supervised Release Board, is also participating via live stream. Here at the Minnesota Department of Corrections Central Office is our Commissioner and Chair of the Supervised Release Board, Mr. Paul Schnell. Also members Cheryl Ramstead, Christine Bray, and Andrew Larson. Our records indicate that on April 14th, 1990, Mr. Scott and his accomplice, Robert Gassler, caused the death of Dale Young with premeditation and intent using a 12-gauge shotgun. This occurred in Staples Township in Todd County. Subsequently, Mr. Scott was convicted of first-degree murder, and in accordance with Minnesota Criminal Code on August 5th, 1992, the Todd County District Court sentenced Mr. Scott to serve a life sentence with a 30-year minimum. Today's review is the third review of Mr. Scott's life sentence and first by the Supervised Release Board. Mr. Scott has served approximately 33 and a half years of incarceration. His minimum parole eligibility date occurred on August 3rd, 2022. Mr. Scott also has 2 consecutive 12-month sentences to serve for convictions of escape from custody that he has committed while serving his current life sentence. Thank you. I turn this matter over to the board.
Good afternoon, Mr. Scott. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
I'd like to start off by asking you to tell the board what it is you'd like to see happen as a result of today's meeting.
Well, I'm hoping to step down to minimum and work towards work release.
Okay. Can you tell us why you feel that you're in a position or ready for that?
Yeah, I've been working at it for a long time, learning about my self-control and stuff like that and my behavior. And one of my bigger problems in life was never being able to hold a job and working, but I've learned to work and enjoy it. You know, maybe it's old age and I'm getting better at it.
So if you were to think back of over the course of time from the onset of your incarceration and to today, what have been the biggest changes in your life?
Say one more.
What have been the biggest changes in your life?
Getting away from old friends. You know, the same people that I always hung around with throughout my life. Kind of broke away from them and started doing it my way. Instead of listening to others, and you know, not that it was their fault. I made all my own decisions, but just getting away from angry people. You know, started hanging around more positive, cold people.
Can you talk about your involvement, lay out your involvement in this offense?
My involvement was I was the main person. I'm the one who committed the murder. I had went on the run, absconded, and I met these two. I knew them both from prison. And we were doing a burglary, trying to get a safe and stuff. And Dale messed it up, and that kind of made me a little angry. But that didn't cause me to do anything to him at that time. And he said he can make it up doing something else. And then he took us on a 3-4 hour drive, and then he couldn't find a place, and I still wasn't planning on murdering him or not, no. And but I had a gasser pull over so I could use the bathroom and stuff, and as soon as we pulled over, he jumped out and took off running. And there was a gun laying on him. It might have been his gun. I'm not sure whose gun it was they had when I met up with them guys. And I jumped out of the car and shot him as he was running away, and then walked up and shot him in the head. It was just kind of a spur of the moment thing, you know. There was a few other reasons at the time, but there's never a good reason for what I did. But it happened.
So what insights have you gained into what it was that would cause you to take the action that you took?
My quick reaction to anger, I never had control of myself, really. I was always right from incident to, I never had the feelings or thoughts. It was just always spontaneous. And, what helped me later is realize that, because in my circle throughout my life, I've always tried to help people around me and never thought about people outside of myself in my circle. And, but I've learned to have compassion for them all. Just for the reasons of some I lost in my life. That's what got me in contact with that, you know. And so I started thinking about other people's feelings. I realized I got it right to hurt somebody else.
Beside your victim, who was impacted by this crime and in what ways?
Well, community, all our families and relatives, the witnesses, they're probably still worried, but the witnesses, actually, I known gave myself up to a witness to try to get him a deal, because I knew as soon as I pulled that trigger, I knew it was kind of over, and, so I thought I'd get him a deal. I should have just pled guilty right from the get, but I didn't. But I just knew at that time that I made a big mistake, right? As I pulled that trigger.
So you said you went into this thinking you were just going to plead guilty, but you didn't. What happened? And did you maintain this level of innocence and that kind of stuff?
Can you say that again, please?
Did you maintain a level of innocence? When you,
Yeah, I fought the case all the way. I fought the incident all the way, and I was offered a 5-year deal at first, but I couldn't take it, because I was the one who killed him, and my co-defendant told me to take it, because he had his participation in it too. But I didn't hold against him for an incident that happened, So we just decided to fight the case because of the evidence that they had against us was none. But when I got back to prison, because of how it went down that first day, my co-defendant had already told 3 people that first day that what happened. So that made me kind of nervous and paranoid and stuff. And so I went back to prison on a violation, and I ran into an old friend of mine, and I told him my part in the incident. And I told him if he had a case hanging at the time, go ahead and testify, make a deal for himself. So during the trial, I just sat there, and what was said was, but I never took the stand. And I never read the report. I was just expecting to see what happened.
So at what point did you get to a place where you said, I'm going to own full and complete responsibility for this?
Probably about the time I seen you the first time. And I thought because I was the one who initiated the murder that Gasser should have, got a break. Even though we all had our own involvements, caused it.
So it was in 2019 when you had your, at the time of your initial review that you,
Yeah. When we first talked, yeah.
and you were continued for 5 years at that point in time with given the opportunity to petition for an earlier review.
Yeah. No, that's when you gave me 3 years, I think.
I think there was originally it was a 5. You're right. The first was a 3 to get you to 30. And then at the 30-year review, I gave you a 5-year continuance.
Yeah.
And what did you do in that time that ultimately caused you to say, look, I've demonstrated the change and the effort to warrant an early review. Can you describe that for us?
I started first I started going to church, and then and I was working this stuff. And I was going to outpatient Atlantis. And I was scared. I really didn't, I had been changing for 20 some years or more, with my thought patterns and stuff, breaking away from different people and stuff. And so about 2016, I went to Restorative Justice. Then I got a mentor certificate to help the special needs people. And I started sitting in pretty good, I like positive thinking, getting away from all that negative thinking all the time, living in the cell blocks for all the years. And then when I went to the hearing, I think we had a conversation that says about a good thing having hope, because we didn't have much hope in the past of getting out. And then after my second escape attempt is when they started letting a lot of people out. So I started working towards that, trying to, I knew from all the behaviors I had before that I need to really improve a lot of my thinking patterns, because I was still a lot of criminal thinking, and I started changing that, and then I got to Atlantis, and that was still hard, but I kept sticking out. Every day I'd get up and just I'm gonna make it through this day. Then the stuff started setting in. It led me to here, just made all my thinking patterns changed.
So one of the big concerns that exists is the fact that, you not only engaged in this homicide, you were, as you indicated and you admit to, you were playing a key and essential. You were the one who really caused the death. But then, these 2 escape attempts. And what I'm hearing you say and what you've written about is the fact that those escape attempts were motivated by your lack of hope.
Yeah.
Why would you want, can you help explain, because one of the challenges here is that, you're saying that a lack of hope drove it, but by many people's view, that those attempts indicate kind of a lack of understanding, a lack of any depth, a lack of being pro-social, of going with the program, and that these 2 escape attempts on top of the other offenses are indication that you do not warrant or you're not worthy of being considered for parole release. What would be your reaction to that?
The reason for the escape attempts is I didn't want to live in a system like that anymore. It was just I don't know how to say it. I just couldn't live in that situation no more. You know, I was having a hard time adjusting. You know, because I didn't want to cause any more harm to anybody, but it was just so negative. You know, I just living the rest of my life in that situation. I couldn't see it.
What gives you hope now? I mean, you're what, 70, how old are you today?
73.
73. So what gives you hope? And talk through what you would envision your life looking like were you to be paroled at some point.
Well, I envision just getting out there and working. I'm still pretty good health as far as being able to work and stuff. And just to put a good retirement plan together and live the best life I can. Helping other people, you know, trying to give back something that I always take in life.
How thorough and realistic do you think your release plan is?
I think it's real solid. I think I got a real good positive outlook on it.
Talk us through what you would envision that being like.
Just living a nice little place on the outskirts of town where I, you know, got a nice little wood area. I love the outdoors, and just be able to eat a healthier foods, go to work and enjoy it. Going to church, meeting people and helping other people. The lifers group and just build a foundation, keep building a foundation. I've already built a little bit of foundation already. I've got a couple sponsors. I got a maintenance worker that will help me find work, and I think life is just easy. You know, there's nothing I really want in life except, you know, be able to walk out and go to sleep when I want, lay down when I want, go to work when, you know, eat what I want. And just enjoy life. Simple life. You know, I love to exercise and I love to hike and stuff like that. And I learned to be a more sociable person.
So do you think that the plan you have is really robust and solid?
Yeah,
I just will tell you, I struggle to see that here, but I mean, I understand what your objective and your goal is. I don't see all of I don't see the details of that in ways that I think that, you know, that I at least would like to see. So anyway, with that, I would open it up to other board members for questions.
Mr. Scott, so I understand you completed substance use treatment in, was it January of 2025, is that right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you're, can you talk to me a little bit about, what does your relapse prevention plan look like? And obviously the reason that I pose that question is because I think by your own admission, alcohol and drug use is something that has played a significant part in your adult life, involved significantly in a lot of your offenses. Not to use that as an excuse, of course, but I would like to know what does your relapse prevention plan consist of?
Staying away from people that are into crime, for one thing. Stay away from people that are into drugs. Stay away from areas where that's prevalent. Just building that foundation with positive people,
So you think it'll be as simple as just avoiding, and I made note, because you said that earlier as well, that it'll be about staying away from others. And certainly I recognize that as an important part of long-term success. But I feel like there's more. There's more to it, because ultimately you are in control of yourself. Who you associate with is part of that, certainly. But I think there's more. There is the thought process that you go through in making some of those decisions. So,
like
yeah, I'm
drugs
just
and stuff. Oh, like drugs and stuff. My health got more important to me than that stuff. I'd rather die a quick natural death than some slow death using drugs and tearing down my body anymore. I think I'm lucky that I'm as healthy as I am to this day, and I'm grateful for that. I enjoy a sober life more than I did using drugs, being miserable all the time.
Okay. One other question for me. You've talked a lot about, giving up the criminal code, involved in a lot of criminal thinking previously. And I think even I think your letter indicated that in your entire basically adult life, you've only been outside of a custodial setting for approximately 5 years, give or take. So when you talk about the criminal code and the criminal thinking, like, what does that mean to you? Like, so when you say those are no longer, like, you don't engage in that, what does that mean? When you say that, what does that mean? Like, can you explain that to me?
Like growing up and stuff, everything was always, or stealing this or stealing that, and always thinking ways of making money. And I learned how, it's my thought process that stopped me from all that now. I was always just spontaneous and mostly it was just being lazy in life. And I learned how to work and enjoy that stuff and appreciate it for what it is. I always made life more of a struggle than it had to be. And now I think I've gained good control over myself.
And so what does that control look like? Help me understand what that means.
Stop and think before you do anything.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate that. So last, and I apologize if there's more that you want to elaborate on. I certainly do that. I don't want you to feel as though I'm cutting you off.
Oh no, you're fine.
Okay. So
I've never been a good long, speech maker. You
and me both. That's all right.
Yeah.
So last question I have. So I also made note that one of the things you put in there is that you, and this is my phrasing, not yours, but like you have historically avoided talking to corrections officers, and obviously there's a little more to it. A, why is that? And then B, do you think that that could potentially be problematic as you are exploring the opportunity to transition to lesser custody levels?
No. The reason I don't talk to correctional officers too much is because, you know, being in these prison settings, they get bothered by 100 people a day. And they just, you know, you go up and ask them a question, they got, you know, and they're saying all of them, it's just a few here and there that, and they always, you know, come off real kind of harsh in a lot of ways. So I just kind of try to avoid them and not ask them a lot of questions, try to figure out how to do something myself without interfering with their job, because they put up with a lot of, you know, BS, I would say, you know. But I get along with a lot of officers, you know. I just it's kind of a social level thing, I guess you could say.
So do you think that that in and of itself could be a thinking error?
Yeah, because most of them are, they want the best for us, you know. I just grew up with a bad authority figure, you know, with my thinking ever since I was a young kid. And but I see the reality of, you know, what life is. You know, there's got to be some strict, you know, law abiding. You know, you got to be law abiding. You know, and you got to be harsh on people sometimes. You know, tough love.
All right, thank you.
If that makes any sense.
No, I get it. I get it.
Mr.
Any other-
Scott, I have a couple of things I'd like to ask you about. And this is just to see how your thinking has changed over the years. You were quoted by someone as saying that killing someone is like no other high in the world. And I'm wondering, as you look back on that time, how has your thinking changed about that?
Well, there was just a conversation between me and the guy who gave the testimony. It wasn't so much a high as it was as soon as I took his life, like a dark doomsday thing to me, you know. I knew I crossed the line. And I knew right from there I was going to jail. I didn't see no way out of it. But it was no high. It's a dumb decision.
And in looking through the file, you shot the victim twice, and then you told the co-defendant to shoot him one last time?
No, he was walking towards me after I shot the guy. And I was having a decision to make. I knew Gasser real well, but you know, growing up, you just kind of get people tell you, you know, never kill nobody in the first place, but don't leave no witnesses. So I thought about shooting him, but just because I liked him, I couldn't do it. So I gave him the gun, and he went and shot the guy too.
So the victim was shot a total of 3 times. I'm just trying to get this straight.
Yeah.
Okay. And was the motive in part that it sounds like in the file, and I believe it actually stated that you were believing that he was a probable informant. I'm just trying to get to the motive.
Yeah. Well, my motive was he messed up. You know, there's no excuse. I had wasn't justifiable in any way. But he had threatened somebody. He was talking to Gasser in the front seat, not in the back seat. he was talking about killing this girl I knew. And so that was weighing heavy on my mind. And I knew the incident he was talking about. He's trying to say that she was going to testify on Gassler or something. And I knew that wasn't the case. I knew her pretty well. And so I didn't say nothing, but it was on my mind. And then all these other things piled up. And that's, then we jumped out of that car. I didn't really know why he's running, but just instinct, I grabbed a gun laying on the seat. And I shot him, and only one pellet hit him that time. I don't know why he quit running. And I walked up and shot him.
Were you on any type of drugs at the time, alcohol, drugs,
Not for that day, no.
at the time of the murder? No?
No. I think I told somebody, to pass I was on marijuana or something, but I wasn't that day. Excuse me.
And how much planning went into this?
The murder. And then murder.
Yes.
Not really, but listen to testimony later. Before I hooked up with Gassler and Dale, I guess they had their own problems between each other. Excuse me. And he had been telling people he was going to kill the guy here and there. You know, he's even mentioned that to me here and there. And so all that showed up. All that showed up later as people testified to understand. All these people started showing up. So I guess there was some kind of premeditation there with you know, just hearing it or something, you know, just. But I wasn't hanging around when all that was going down. But,
Emotionally, were you feeling, how were you feeling emotionally? And was there anger involved in this murder?
was there anger? Just for a split second. Well, no, when he took us up to look at this other job that this other crime, and I felt like he misled us because we drove like 3.5 hours to get there, and then he said he couldn't find a place, and so there was anger building up over that, and then with everything else that was going on, that's kind of spurred spontaneous reaction.
In hindsight, why do you think you ran?
I never really even thought about it.
Well, I suppose you don't have time to really ponder that now, but you might want to later. You stated in your, as part of your relapse plan that you know your triggers. What are your triggers?
Hang around with negative people. You know, but I've learned how to control my thoughts, so, and I know how to set my boundaries now. And I just stay away from them. You know, I walk out in the middle of a conversation. I don't even go out to the yard here too much because every time I go out there, it's a lot of negative. You know, and I just don't even like to hear it no more. I'm just looking for a peaceful place to finish up the rest of my life.
Who do you hang around with now?
I'm in a COD and I hang.
You don't need to name names, but I mean, how do you find associates now that have something in common with you today?
Well, we're all in treatment, so I just help them, and, you know, I get a lot of help from them too, just learning. I'm still learning a lot. I kind of enjoy the treatment setting. I could went other places and got jobs and work, but just being around a positive atmosphere, I've learned to enjoy it. I hope to continue on with my life like that. Like if I ever do get out, I'm gonna hope to come back within about a year and talk to some of the other lifers that are in that I've known. So,
Okay,
help
thank
them.
you for that. That was all I had.
Thank you.
I have just a couple questions about your release plan. What, like, you'd like to go to minimum and you specified Red Wing, is that correct?
Yes,
Why Red Wing?
because everybody I know that went through there, you know, there ain't a lot of people using like they were outside the fence here. I mean, it ain't gonna bother me if they are, because I'll just if I see it, I'm just gonna go to staff and let them know, like, I don't want this dude in my cell or whatever, you know, because I like a clean environment. But and I had a caseworker, Joshua, I can't remember his last name offhand, but he told me Red Wing was he worked down there as an officer, and he said it was a nice, positive place, real respectful, and being there as a kid, I always kind of liked the scenery of that town. It was a nice, quiet town, and
After Red Wing, you mentioned Halfway House, and I think your first option is Damascus Way. Where would you go after that? Be really specific. If you were to complete all that successfully, where are you going to live?
well, I got I'd rather not go here, but I got a friend that I knew from inside. He helps a lot of prisoners. Uh, he he's a landlord for complexes over there, Fremont apartments and stuff. And he will rent for us even cheaper than most people. And he'd help us out, but I'd like to get just a little place outside, right on the outskirts of town. You know, but I want to stay in the halfway long enough to save up enough money for, you know, at least a year's worth of rent and stuff, and because my needs ain't much anymore in life, you know, and secondhand clothes are good to me. I'm not gonna be driving. You know, I'm gonna take public transportation. I like walking. I can walk all day long. Still this day, I do a lot of walking.
And as far as financial, I think I read you get money from a peer. Is that correct? You've got about 2,600 in savings.
Yeah, I think I got about 35 right now.
Okay, and that comes from a peer, or where does it come from?
That came from that COVID money and saving, you know. Just saving, you know, I try to only spend about $20 out of 70 every 2 weeks, you know. But
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to turn to your support person here. I believe Justin is on. Do we have him on?
Yep, I'm
Okay.
here.
All right. I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. McNeil, and ask you to provide whatever thoughts and insights you have.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here today. I'm actually going to be on a couple of these today. For anyone that doesn't know or doesn't remember me, I'm the executive director of Begin Anew, and we do a lot of recovery and reentry work. And more specifically, in the last year and a half, myself with the part of the company have started a life sentence program where I help prepare people for these hearings, whether if they have need an advocate, I can be an advocate. Usually a lot of people have their own, but helping them review their release plans, try to think things through more, offer support, guidance, edits or suggestions on their release plans or their letters. And so I was delivering peer recovery training at the Triad program, and about 8 months ago is when I got connected with Mr. Scott. And said he was looking for an advocate. He had heard of me and wanted to work with me. And so our window together has been rather short. Very much so, even when you were talking about the release plan being a little light, I had very little time to work with him on it to get it in. He did make some edits and make some suggestions with me. And the one thing I noticed that was it was mentioned by some of you too, is, how he talked about not having as much help. And just in the last handful of years, you've started to see a shift, or he has started to see a shift in himself. And I know that, he's been a COD mentor, and he's also been doing peer recovery support within the facility, or got trained as a peer. And I think that definitely helps you get outside of self and start focusing on others and seeing that there's more to life than just you. And a big part of what I offer is, if granted the step down process, or someday that when release does come, who helps an individual into the community. And in particularly on Mr. Scott, he spent most of his life in prison. And so if he does ever get the chance to be in the community, there's going to need to be a lot of support. And that's definitely something Begin Anew can do by connecting to resources, mentorship, problem solving, helping them figure out next steps, and even getting connected to more people in the community. And I think the biggest, like I had mentioned a little bit earlier, just one of the biggest support or biggest things I have seen with him is that at some point here in these last few years, something has changed where he wants to do something different. And he's looking forward to the future instead of being angry and resentful about it. And, he's engaged me when we've worked together. He's made time to talk with me and work on things. And that's usually what I ask. It's when I work with someone, I want to see that they're going to do the work. It's not about everything I can offer. It's about the work you've done on yourself. And I know that he was given a handful of directives the last time he got a continuance, and he's met a good chunk of those, and that his discipline has been very minimal since then. I know it sounds like there was one maybe small thing that happened in that time frame. And so besides that, I'm just here as a support, and then if granted, like I mentioned, here for when the community comes.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for providing support to him and others along the way here. Mr. Scott, I want to just, before we begin to talk about next steps and from a board standpoint, I'd like to provide you with one last opportunity to provide any input or thoughts to the board before we convene in our discussion.
Well, I don't want to express that I've changed, but I have. I would no longer be a problem in anybody's life. I really appreciate a chance. I know I probably ain't deserving of it with my past record. But I will do the right thing. I don't want to be a problem in anybody else's life. I'd like to give something back instead of always being the person that causes problems. I'd like to be the solution to the problems and turn that ripple effect around in life. I think just looking at society, they got enough problems. They don't need any more problems for me. all I can ask is for a chance. The step down, it might take a while, but I'll follow every rule.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, I'm going to close this portion of the discussion, and we'll move into board discussion and deliberation around next steps. During that time, the board will not entertain any questions or allow interruptions. And with that, I would open this to the board.
I'm a little confused about how the escape from custody sentence would work. And is there one or two?
Two.
There's two.
Two
And
separate
how would that
consecutive.
work from the date of his discharge from the crime itself?
So he would have to be paroled on his life sentence before he would then have to serve. It's roughly 8 months apiece. So you have about 16 months to serve on those two consecutive sentences post parole. So he would be on constructive parole to his two consecutive sentences if
Thank
he
you.
were to be paroled.
Thank you.
And then it looked to me like, I mean, based on the credit for time served, like it would be months, like literally months,
Potentially.
like 332 days credit for one of them and 180 for another.
Yeah, so he
That's
may not
literally
have
2
much.
months.
Yeah.
Which I only say that just for.
Yeah, since administration would calculate the
Yep,
final
no, for sure.
Sultan.
Well, I'll start with, I guess, my thoughts. So I acknowledge, I think that there has been progress. I think it's evidenced by the fact that, he was originally given a 5-year continuance. He's done enough to warrant coming back before the board at the 3-year mark. I think the release plan needs work. At this point, I would, and I recognize even as stepping down, like you can continue to build on the release plan, but I would personally like to see more. Even, he frequently spoke about, things he would do to avoid problems or to avoid triggers. And a lot of it was really focused on staying away from others. And I recognize that's certainly a part of it. There's an internal part of it that I didn't hear much of during the course of the hearing. So I think there's more room for growth and development and really self-exploration. And I think that is something, additional work on that front, more work on the discharge plan itself are things I would need to see more of before I would be in favor of any sort of a step down at this stage. He's got an extensive 5 years of your entire adult life. I think he's going to need that support. All the more reason to I think that has to be super tight before I'd be comfortable with any sort of step down at this stage. So, with that, I would make a motion to deny parole. I would put a continuance of 3 years with continued development of his release plan, some completion of additional programming, specifically cognitive behavioral programming to address some of those internal things that I think do drive behavior. I think it's more complicated than just who you associate with, though I recognize that as part of it.
All right, there is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second discussion.
Yeah, just for the sake of discussion, and I can see the way this is going to go. I think because he's been in for so long, he does have, I think, an inflated view of what he'll be able to do when he's out there. I like the idea of minimum just to start giving him a test.
Well, let me be sure I understand this. Assuming that just hypothetical, assuming that we were to say parole, he would begin his a minimum 16 months for the escape, and he would remain at medium custody during that 16 months, correct?
Well, with credit for time served, it might be less than that, but I think, at the end of the day, once he's paroled, he's paroled.
But it would happen after he served his additional time.
Yeah, whatever he has left to serve, but there is, absent a revocation, there is no walking back the parole. Parole is granted.
Thank you. I just need to be sure on that.
I think for me, I agree with, that inflated sense. Just listening to the plan, one of the things that, I hear, is this, desire to kind of, go to the outdoors and be in the outskirts of town and live a simple life, which I respect. And I actually, believe, but then, the ability to support yourself, the ability to have access to transportation, and public transportation is not super readily available in the areas that he describes. And so I think there is a lack of, really solid development of a release plan. Having a year, it's, rent, if rent is $1,000 a month, let's just say, at a minimum, probably, if you're living alone, you need to save $12,000. And, depending upon his job opportunities, that may be a big challenge. So I am deeply concerned about, his ability to make it in terms of that transition. I could envision, at some point in time, some level of perhaps a minimum placement. And again, I think with the caveat that does not necessarily connotate a direction of release, but perhaps a recognition of where he's at. I don't necessarily regard him as a big escape risk at this point in time. At the same time, I do have concern about, potentially him getting into a fog where hope is a concern, and where he just said, well, what difference does it make if I try to walk away? And that does become somewhat of a concern as well, for me, just as we think about, that minimum side. But I'm in a fully support a denial of parole. So we have a motion and a second. We'll call the vote at this point in time. The conditions of that would be that really the development of a comprehensive release plan. I would add that, that should include the development of further support system folks in the community side, and participation in some level of a cognitive behavioral plan, and remain discipline free. So to that motion, Board Member Bray,
No.
Board Member Earhart,
Yes.
Board Member Larson,
Yes.
Board Member Ramstead,
Yes.
and Schnell will vote yes. Mr. Scott, you have heard the decision here and the discussion. Key to this is going to be really your ability to develop that comprehensive plan. And that means really looking at realistically, what would a budget look like, and what kind of money would you need to make in order to support, that level of independence. And I realize that age is also a factor. And so that, that's a consideration. But it all the more reason, I think, for you to really double down in terms of your plan. Do you have any questions? Mr. Scott, any questions?
No, but I did want to say about the escape. 16 months or 2 years, it's really 4 months. Because one was concurrent sentence and the other one was a 6-month sentence that was run consecutive. So that called for 4 months, but
Okay.
as far as budgeting stuff, I realized not being out there and working and having the skills, I can work, and I do got the patience, and I know how to manage my money. Most of my money that I made here, I gave away. So the people getting out, that didn't have money, just to give them a chance to make it out there. So my needs ain't many, but I think I'd do good.
Okay. Well, I think this is where one of those places where, maybe accessing some of the people that are supporters of yours who are life sentence people who are on parole, but to really focus on development of that of a budget and a comprehensive release plan. While your needs may not be many, the reality is it just costs money to live. And you're going to need to really have a solid sense of what that is. And I don't see that reflected here. So that's really the work that you have in front of you. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Do I have time for a break?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Take a
I'm
break.
gonna bring them in and let them know that.
Okay.
And will you talk into the mic and just say?
We are going to break and be back momentarily. Can you guys hear us okay? At Faribault?
Yes. Yeah, we got you. Are you seeing him how you need him?
Yep, we're seeing you good and
Okay.
hearing you loud and clear.
Sounds great. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Greenleaf. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Good
Okay,
afternoon.
wonderful. Likewise, thank you. I am Andrew Carlson. I'm the Assistant Director of the Hearings and Release Unit. We are here to review Mr. Lester Dale Greenleaf, who is participating via live stream from Minnesota Correctional Facility at Faribault. Mr. Greenleaf, you have an advocate participating by WebEx, Mr. Justin McNeil. Again, thank you, Mr. McNeil, for being here and participating. SRB member Joe Earhart is also participating by video. Here with me at the Minnesota Department of Corrections Central Office is our Commissioner and Chair of the Supervised Release Board, Mr. Paul Schnell, along with board members Cheryl Ramstead, member Christine Bray, and member Andrew Larson. Our records indicate that on August 28th, 1996, the vehicle Mr. Greenleaf and 4 accomplices were riding in was rear-ended by then 17-year-old Paul Antonich. Mr. Greenleaf and his accomplices confronted Mr. Antonich about the accident. They assaulted him and placed him in the trunk of their vehicle. They drove the vehicle that Mr. Antonich was originally driving and their own vehicle to a remote location where they took Mr. Antonich out of the trunk and beat him again. They shot Mr. Antonich 4 times in the head and placed him in the trunk of his own vehicle and partially submerged the vehicle. Subsequently, Mr. Greenleaf was convicted of murder in the first degree with intent while committing a felony for his actions relating to Mr. Antonich's death. In accordance with Minnesota Criminal Code on September 23rd, 1997, Lester Greenleaf was sentenced to a life sentence with a 30-year minimum in Carlton County District Court. Today's review is Mr. Greenleaf's second review of his life sentence by the Supervised Release Board. And Mr. Greenleaf has served approximately 29 and a half years of incarceration. Mr. Greenleaf's minimum parole eligibility date will occur on August 31st of this year. Mr. Greenleaf also has a consecutive sentence of 8 months for 4th-degree assault against a peace officer that occurred while he's been serving his life sentence. Thank you, and I turn this matter over to the board.
So good afternoon, Mr. Greenleaf. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Good afternoon.
All right. I'd like to start off by asking you to tell the board what it is you'd like to see happen as a result of today's meeting.
First off, I'd just like to start by saying thank you for this opportunity. And I would like to apologize to the Antonich family for participating in the murder of their beloved son, Paul Antonich, and I'm truly sorry for putting them through the ordeal, the murder of their son. What I would like to see happen today is to move forward in the next step down process, whatever that may be, work release. Yeah.
So you started out by talking about, wanting to apologize to the Antonich family for what you've done and what you took from them. Can you talk a little bit about what you imagine the harm you caused to have been to that family?
It is, yeah, I cause a lot of pain to their family by not caring, by not, by not knowing right from wrong, and taking an innocent life. And causing them suffering and pain by them losing their son. And on my part, I was just looking for acceptance, to be accepted by the people I was hanging out with.
Can you talk about how you've changed over time?
How I've changed, I would always find myself alone, sitting in SAG. I was always trying to prove myself to people, be accepted by, you know, my peers in prison. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about anybody but myself. And when I would find myself alone, sitting in SAG, and I'm supposed to be representing a group of people, and there's nobody else around me. There's nobody else sending me mail. There's nobody asking me how I'm doing. And 2010, 2011, I just finally said, you know what, something's got to change. You know, I'm making my time more harder than it is. And I started pulling away from prison politics. I just started focusing on myself.
And specifically, what in yourself did you focus on?
What can I do different to make my time go by a little smoother? What can I change about me? Because I'm the whole time I'm trying to change everybody else but me. So to start, I needed to stop drinking. I needed to stop doing drugs. I needed to stop being violent. I needed to stop hanging out with, you know, the guys that want to, you know, raise hell all the time. So I choose to separate myself, you know, like just stay in my room and read and, you know, go to work. And that was it. And that helped me when I went to my 20-year review and they moved me down to Stillwater. And then I started signing up for all the programming, and I volunteered to go to treatment. And that's where I started learning more about changing myself than trying to change other people around me. So, and that's where I learned about the pain I was causing other people. Even though I'm still in prison, I still was hurting people by my words, my actions. So that's kept me on path to keep wanting to change, to be a better person, keep wanting to do something different, do something right, do the opposite of what I was normally doing. And it wasn't easy. There's times I struggled. There's times that I was confronted, but I never reverted back to the old behaviors. You know, I just tried to figure out, all right, how can I make this not turn into a violent situation? You know, what can I do different to change the situation I'm in right now, this predicament I'm in? How can I make it better, or how can I diffuse it, or whatever it may be? You know, a few years ago, there was an incident where somebody was calling me a bitch as I'm walking from the restorative justice project room, and I ignored it and I kept on walking, and they confronted me, and 3 people surrounded me like, and I was like, are you sure you got the right person? Are you sure you're talking about me? And I just use this thing called transforming power I've learned in AVP, Alternative Violence Program, where I kept speaking to the guy that was, standing in front of me. I just kept asking him a bunch of questions like, are you sure it's me? There's other people around here that got bald heads that, are you sure it's not mistaken identity? And it kind of diffused the situation where they just walked off, and I was like, I was like, damn, I can't believe I just walked through that. I got myself through that, but I talked myself out of that whole situation. And I wouldn't have ever done it with all these programs that I've taken the past 5-6 years. I'm just learning how to think, learning how to assess the situation, learning how not to react, not to be impulsive. So that's one of the things that is helping me change and navigate and just keep working on myself. Change me, not change anybody around me.
So how do you think others see you in the community that you live in today, whether it's staff or peers? How are you regarded, do you think?
Well, they see me as being respectful. They see me being positive. They see me working toward a goal. Like, they see me working for something other than just wanting to get out, They see me to trying to be a better person. There's a lot of people that from my past are showing up, coming back to prison, and are like amazed that they see me doing. They don't see me drinking. They don't see me getting high. They're like, they don't see me getting in trouble, getting in fights. They're like, damn, what happened to you? And I'm like, man, it's time to do something different. It's time to grow up. I want to get out of prison. I want to be somebody different. I want to be, that I don't want to be that person anymore.
What do you feel, and this kind of connects with what you're just describing here, but it may feel like it's a step backwards, but what do you feel you owe the Antioch family? What debt do you have to pay them?
I owe them everything I'm working for. Everything I'm working for to change myself, that's what I owe them. And to not hurt anybody else, to not, put another family through the pain that they just went through. That's what I owe them.
When you think about the future, the potential of being released, can you walk us through what that looks like for you?
That would look like getting a full-time job, participating in my aftercare, trying, helping others by sharing my story, my struggles, my lived experience. Maybe I could help, even if I can help one person change their direction in life. Going to meetings, staying in contact with my agent, with my mentors, just making sure my mental health is stable. And if I'm struggling, just reach out and ask for help.
And who is your support network? What does that look like?
It would be Justin. It would be Thomas Pippett, my redemption mentor. Daniel Seavig was a amicus mentor who's been in my life for the past 6 years. Spiritual elders from the reservation, like James White, a retired tribal judge. There's people in the recovery field, that I connect with, because my main focus is sobriety, just staying sober. I want to be sober, and I want to be able to start a new life, to rebuild my relationships with my son, to meet my grandkids.
And where would you intend to release to?
I would like to, that question is like, I would like to go to the halfway house in Red Lake, but that's not gonna happen, I know that. I've heard a lot of good things about Damascus Way. Yeah, that would be my, I would like to go there.
So can you just talk a little bit of where would you ultimately plan on living? You plan on going back to Red Lake?
Eventually I would like to, and I would like to live up there, get a job up there, and try to help my community, and, just to help the young people that, being a part of a gang ain't the way to live your life, because there's no benefits out of that. It brings you to prison. Using drugs and alcohol will bring you to prison. It's just something that I feel like I need to, try to reach out and help other Native Americans, whoever needs the help. And my reservation is, it's pretty rough up there, I hear.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open this up for other board members to ask questions of Mr. Green.
Mr. Greenleaf, I just want to follow up on the last part of what you said. Why do you think going to the halfway house in Red Lake is impossible? Or you said it ain't gonna happen?
The lifers always say that you gotta go to Hennepin County, or you gotta end up where the lifers go. So I never, since I haven't been that far, and then this is my first time getting to this point. So, maybe it's not gonna happen, maybe it will. If it does, I'd be blessed.
And I think you said ultimately you'd like to live with your father?
At some point, yeah, because he's getting old in age and he's having health issues right now. But at this point, I would have to stay away from that area because I want to be sure of myself that I can manage independently in any situation that I put myself in. I want to be sure-footed in what I do. And I don't want to insert myself into a situation that's going to set me backwards. So that would not be a good idea at this point.
And is part of that your concern about alcohol use and substance use?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Um,
And go ahead.
Since my mom passed away last year, he's been like drinking alcohol, like it's kind of like on a weekly basis, and I don't want to put myself in that in that spot. And he knows that I can't be around alcohol, I can't be around drugs, I can't be around anybody that's using, and he understands that. And if he decides to sober up, that's his choice. And my mom was the one that kind of kept everybody together, I kept everybody focused on, people got to be sober when Lester comes home, because they were getting up there in age, and I wanted to help take care of them. But things changed, and yeah, I want to be able to have myself be confident enough to put myself somewhere where I can, like, all right, yeah, I gotta remove myself because you're drinking. I gotta, knowing when to walk away and move forward is, that's what I got going.
That sounds really wise. And I do just want to say, the way you spoke with us in the very beginning when you were talking about what you hope for, was really amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Antonich,
Mr. Greenleaf.
or I'm sorry, Mr. Greenleaf, I'm interested in what your relationship with Mr. Antonich, if any, was at the time of the crime. Had you ever seen this young man, heard of him? Did you know who he was? Did he live on the reservation?
No, I never even met him, and I didn't even know who he was. He was just a complete stranger.
It seems like you were quite a willing participant, that you drove his car with him in the trunk and brutalized him. And I'm just not hearing in your comments, I'm hearing that you're sorry for his loss to his family and that he didn't deserve that, but I'm not hearing that you've really looked at yourself to figure out how you were capable of such behavior. I know you've said you just wanted to be accepted, but that's not a reason for the dramatic actions that you took over an extended period of time to a totally innocent victim. So I'm just wondering to what extent you've looked at your makeup as a person to figure out, and I know that you're going to say alcohol, but I think it's more than that. And I'm just wondering to what extent you've examined how and why you could be involved in such a heinous crime.
Yeah, I've took a really good look at myself. How I grew up. I grew up in a dysfunctional family, an alcoholic family. Um, I was abused as a kid by my dad would abuse us physically, mentally, emotionally. I seen a lot of violence. I seen a lot of domestic violence. Um, at the hands of my father, beating up my mom. My dad being in fights with other people. I seen a lot of drinking. Um, during that time when people were drinking, there would always be violence. And being, I think that's where that finding acceptance came from, by, you know, not having that loving family where you get hugged or where you get told, I love you, son, or I think that's where the trying to be accepted by something or someone came into play. And seeing all that violence was like helping me establish by fear friends that know that I wanted people to fear me because I wanted them to accept me. But it wasn't, that wasn't the right way to look for friends. So I understand what you're saying. And being abused as a child and learning by searching deep within myself that's where, those are the things that I remember. Those are the things I see in my mind. And I think that's where me not caring about anything came from. And finding that acceptance from other people, that's where, you know, growing up like that came from also.
How are you going to find or fulfill that need for acceptance once you're no longer incarcerated?
By helping other people, you know, by not looking for acceptance, but to try to help other people that don't go through what I went through.
Well, I do want to commend you on, it sounds like your work ethic is really strong. I was impressed by the letter from MinCor about your work ethic. So I hope that leads to a different life for you once you're released. Thank you, Mr. Greenleaf.
Thank you.
Mr. Greenleaf, I have a few questions just to clarify things in my mind regarding the sequence of events and the motive. In one place, it states that you and your friends, 4 other friends, were driving around looking for a white guy to assault. And I'm wondering, was race a real issue for you then? And for the others, was that really a key part of the motive?
No, race wasn't an issue. Race wasn't a factor, and it was just, from what I can remember, it was just a spur of the moment thing, you know, like we were on our way to a different person's house that robbed one of the guys that was in the vehicle with us. So we were going back to get his drugs and his money. That's how that, so we were already on our way to go do something else to somebody else. That was that robbed, one of the guys that was in the vehicle for drugs and money.
So did you
And then-
not make it back to rob this person? You were diverted by being rear-ended by the victim?
Yeah, it never made it that far. We got rear-ended and then things just escalated from there.
Okay, and in one place it says that you were the first one who jumped out of the car and went back and hit the victim. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah, yes, it is.
And what was your motive for that?
Just, I don't know, just, I mean, they're just being violent, I guess, just not caring. Like I said earlier, I didn't care about anything, and when I was drinking, I didn't care about nothing. And you just wrecked into us. Now I gotta do something to you. That was my thinking back then.
And in just one place, it calls it a carjacking. Was there any intent to do a carjacking that evening?
No, there was no intent on that.
And it mentions you and a co-defendant standing at the window, and he stuck the victim before he was put in the trunk. Was that the co-defendant, or was that you who stuck the victim?
I can't speak on the co-defendant, but I can speak for me that when you say stuck the,
It said after sticking the victim, I don't want to jump to any conclusion. I just wondered if you could speak to that, if you recognize that as being anything that happened.
from what I remember, is just only sticking my hand, like punching through the window. That's, maybe that's what that means. Maybe that's what they're
Okay,
talking about.
I didn't know. I thought maybe you had more information about that. And this young man was 17 years old. Did he fight back in any way?
No, he didn't.
How'd you feel about the crime at the time that you were committing it?
I didn't think it was gonna go as far as it went. It just kept on escalating and, I wanted to stop it. I wanted to do all this. But I never did because I didn't want to look like I was scared. I didn't want to look like the weakling of the group. I wanted to be accepted by, like I said earlier, by my peers.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did have a couple of questions for you. So one of the things that I made note of is you had never really considered the impact of your actions on others until your participation in substance use disorder treatment. Can you talk a little bit about that? Why was that so impactful for you?
That's when I started learning to put myself in others' shoes, and learning how the ripple affects a lot of people from your own actions. And by watching other victims tell their stories, I started to realize that, damn, I hurt a lot of people just with my actions, and by the way I spoke to people, by the way I treated people, I was still hurting people while I was in prison. And learning about that I was amazed at how far the ripple effect affected a lot of people that I was dealing with, that I harmed.
And I appreciate that. I also know you've participated in restorative justice, and I think you did participate in the apology letter workshop. What did you gain from the apology letter process? I think you did you submit an apology letter?
Yes, I submitted an apology letter and it was accepted into the apology letter bank.
Okay. So what did you gain from that?
What I gained from that was by looking at the effects that I caused, by looking at the harm that I did, and how my actions devastated a lot of people and a lot of communities, you know, the people that were involved with my case also got affected. And learning how to say I'm sorry was a big step for me in growth. Because I never used to apologize for nothing.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, turn to Mr. McNeil. Again, appreciate you being here today and would like to hear your thoughts.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you once again, board members, for having me here today. It's just kind of interesting just hearing everything Mr. Greenleaf has to say, because just reflecting back, he's one of the first few people serving a life sentence that I actually got the honor to work with. And it was through a peer recovery training with Minnesota Recovery Connection when I was with them, when he got trained in that. And so throughout that week, we got to connect and I got to learn about his story a lot. You know, he also shared with me what his path in prison was like for a long time. And then when he started to have this shift that he mentioned. And one of the greatest things with communicating with him is, whether it's once a month or every couple months when we would check in, is he's been constantly on this path of improvement. Whether it's programming, whether it's his job, like you mentioned with MinCorp, he's very, very insightful in trying to find ways to change the way he thinks, look at what happened with his crime, and find ways to improve so that something like this doesn't ever happen again. And, you know, I know besides the PRS program and doing that work within facility, he has also been part of the dog program, on the RJ Council, working with the Redemption Project. And then, as you heard as well, he has quite a bit of community support. And that's something I really like to see as well, is it's not just Justin that he's going to be working with. He has other people he can rely on, because I can't always be there. And then you have other people. And then another great factor with working with me, I suppose, is I do a lot of work within the tribes beyond doing my reentry work. And so if there's any other needs for him getting involved in culture and different practices, or native specific recovery supports, it's things I can connect him to. And then just even in this hearing today, and I'm sure some of you have even noticed it, is he's giving complete answers and he's thinking things through and giving you his insights on how he's seen things and how he's changed. And that's something I look for as well, is when it's not just short answers and people really think through the actions of what they did, because this is a serious crime, and how that they can become a better person so something like this doesn't happen again. And I guess I'd add lastly that, you know, just like I mentioned before, is a big part of my work too, is to catch individuals like this when they come into the community so that they have the proper supports they need. And he's demonstrated over the years we've worked together now, it's been multiple years, that he continually reaches out, asks me for questions, asks about resources, tells me about his successes, tells me about his struggles. And I think that's more important, is when people reach out when they're struggling. It's great to hear when people are doing well, especially when people get in community. I want to know when they're struggling with things so I can help them problem solve. And I feel fairly confident that if he gets the step down process, that when he has needs, he's going to reach out to his mentors and to the people that are here to support him. And that's the biggest step. I often share when I talk about doing this work is not necessarily life sentence work, but reentry work. I lose about 75% of the people I work with because they never call me when they get out. And I don't have that worry with Mr. Greenleaf. And so thank you for having me here. And that's all I've got.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Justin.
Mr. Greenleaf, before the board enters into our discussion and deliberation about next steps for you, I want to provide you with one last opportunity to provide input to the board prior to us deliberating. Is there anything you'd like to share?
I'd just like to say thank you for this opportunity. And this has been a long journey for me. And it's been these past few years has been really eye-opening on me changing myself for the better. And you know, the beginning of my sin wasn't, you know, it was a lot of sick time, it was a lot of drinking, a lot of violence, and even the staff assault was uncalled for, and I should have never been doing what I was doing, and I got caught, and by me dealing with it with violence only made it worse. And today I know I'm not that person. I got a level head. I know I recognize my red flags. I recognize, you know, when there's something not right, I process it. I figure out, well, what is making me feel this way? Why do I feel this way today? I mean, I know how to recognize the things that I feel, and I know how to process them so I don't do anything that sets me back. And I just want to say thank you for giving me this chance, this opportunity.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. With that, we will close this portion of the discussion and move into discussion of next steps. During that time, the board will not entertain any questions or interruptions. And with that, I would open it to the board. Maybe for just, you know, I think initially, looking back, he has, Mr. Greenleaf has had, I saw him at the 27-year review. And, you know, we've moved him forward there. He has, I think, done quite well. And, you know, I'm impressed with his, I think, steadiness around wanting to focus on making sure that he's in the best place possible. And, you know, I think as we go forward, you know, moving to work release will provide that opportunity for him to gain a level of depth in understanding what that's going to take, and some of the challenges, and making sure that he activates his network, as Mr. McNeil just described. So I would, I'm gonna move a proposal just because it's a little bit, we have a consecutive sentence here that has to be managed as well. So what I would propose is that we would grant parole effective 8/31/26. We would move Mr. Greenleaf to work release in the next 45 to 60 days, whatever that takes. And he would remain on work release status up through the date of parole. And then he would continue serving, as I calculated, roughly 5 months of additional time on that consecutive sentence on work release until he would hit his release date on the consecutive sentence. In the meantime, I would request that he further refine and develop his release plan, including really being specific about who and when he will activate his support network, that he would further develop and refine a budget, that he would further develop and refine a release plan, and maybe some phasing around what that looks like in terms of where he ultimately plans to live. And that this is all conditioned upon the fact that he would remain disciplined and free during the remainder of his time on the minimum custody and throughout his time on work release. So that would be the motion.
Second. And could I just add one condition, that he maybe get into some kind of formal aftercare treatment for alcohol use, like AA or something that's a little bit structured?
Yeah, I thought he did mention aftercare was one of his plans. I don't know that. Yeah. So I agree with you 100% on that. So there is a motion and a second. Are there further items for discussion? Hearing none. To the motion, Board Member Bray,
Yes.
Board Member Earhart,
Yes.
Board Member Larson,
Yes.
Board Member Ramstead,
Yes.
and Schnell votes yes. Mr. Greenleaf, your parole is presumptively approved. That would be a constructive parole while you serve that 5 months, roughly, on the consecutive sentence, whatever that time is. And then once you hit that date, you would be out on release. But it is going to be really incumbent upon you to really tighten that release plan. That's just to your benefit and ours. Obviously, if you fail to do that, work release staff could bring it back to us, because that's a condition. But I don't have any big concerns that that's going to be an issue. I see you wanting to pursue a positive path and continuing on that direction. So congratulations and good luck to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Justin.
Field. All right.
Do a break slide.
Okay. We will, just for people know, we'll be going into a break here for a short minute while we set up for the next 2 hearings that will be in person.
of the Hearings and Release Unit. We are here today to review Mr. Jack Miselki, who's present with us. Thanks for coming up today. Also with us today is your advocate, Rodney Livingston. Thank you, sir, for being here. On video participating is board member Joe Earhart. Here at central office again with us is the Commissioner Schnell. He's also the chair of the Supervised Release Board. And board member Shell Ramstead, member Christine Bray, and member Andrew Larson. Our records indicate that on June 6th, 1985, at about 10:46 a.m., officers of the Winona PD were dispatched to a residence in the city of Winona in response to a citizen report that a person residing at that location was bleeding and lying on a bed inside the residence. Investigators determined that the victim, Ada Frances Sennenfelder, had died after being stabbed multiple times. Jack Miselki, as the enforcer, served as the enforcer for a group of people who had been discussing killing the victim. After the murder, Miselki was seen with stacks of U.S. currency. Witnesses heard the subject bragging about stabbing the victim, providing information about the victim's injuries, which had not been made public. Witnesses also observed a cut on Mr. Miselki's hand and reported that associates of Mr. Miselki reported disposing of shirts and pants and cleaning their vehicle. Associates of Miselki then met to get their stories straight, after which that was based on certain witness statements had changed. In 2008, male DNA material was found in bloody areas on both the bed sheets or bedspread rather in the room, which did not exclude Mr. Miselki as a possible contributor of that male DNA. On July 8th, 2009, the Winona County District Court found Mr. Miselki guilty of premeditated murder in the first degree. In accordance with Minnesota Criminal Code, Mr. Miselki was sentenced to serve a life sentence with a 17-year minimum. On March 21st, 2023, Mr. Miselki was given the opportunity to transition to minimum custody, and on June 4th, 2025, he was transferred to the work release program. Today's review is the fourth review of Mr. Miselki's life sentence, and he has served approximately 20 and a half years of incarceration. Mr. Miselki's parole eligibility date occurred on September 17th, 2022. Thank you. I turn this matter over to the board.
So good afternoon, Mr. Miselki. How are you today?
Good.
Good. I would just like to start out by asking you to tell the board what it is you'd like to see happen as a result of today's meeting.
Well, I would like to continue on to the next phase of this transition, which would ultimately be to go home, be with my family.
Can you just pull the mic a little bit closer to you? Thank you.
Next phase would be, like I said, to go home, be with my family, and continue to just be a member of society. I mean, I think I've been doing a pretty good job so far at the work release place. So.
Can you talk about what the transition is like? I've seen your letter, but it would just be nice to have you describe, what you talked about it being eye-opening and at times frustrating, and what has that been?
To back up a little bit then, like when we had my last hearing and you guys decided to let me go to work release, I was a little frustrated with that decision. I mean, I thought I was ready to go out and hit the world, ready to run, and because I had a lot of support, and I still do have a lot of support. But man, I quickly found out I really wasn't that ready. I did learn a lot. It was kind of like a deer in the headlights type thing, I guess, and there's another lifer that has came to the Damascus Way, and seeing him go through what I was going through back in June and actually being able to help him. And there was a guy there too that was able to help me, and that was great help. And my advocate here, Rodney, he helped me a lot too. But just navigating things. I mean, there's jobs out there, tons of jobs, but finding jobs that would fit into the parameters of the work release requirements turned out to be kind of difficult. And then I bet I applied for like 250 jobs, and I got a lot of interviews, actually got hired at a few. And then the background check thing, oh, we can't have you work for us, so that became kind of a frustration because I wanted to get to work. I wanted to get income coming so I could go have passes and be with my family and things like that. And the expense of everything out here now compared to what it was 30 years ago was a shock too. Everybody said, "Oh, the prices are going up. Prices are going up." I didn't really realize till I'm paying for it out of my own pocket,
Right.
So it was kind of an eye-opening experience all the way around. But I now see why you guys have these things in place for us to transition like you do, and I really thank you for that because it did slow me down and it gave me a chance to slowly get back into it, and where if I'd have got just thrown to the wolves, so to say, I'd have been like overwhelmed, and it's the chances for success might not have been as well. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I see the necessity in this. So
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Um, can you talk just a little bit about your support system and what that looks like?
well, I've developed a kind of a good one now. So I found a church when I got to Damascus Way right away, and that's been a great support system for me. My support system is my family, the biggest part of it. Family's always been important to me, so I spend as much time as I can with them. I do have some other friends that I meet with occasionally. I'm probably going to be meeting with one maybe this weekend, hopefully. But like I said, I try and focus mostly on family. I do have advocates and things like that, people that I can reach out if I have problems. And then even my supervisor at work has become a great support person. Like if something ain't going right, I can go talk to him, and he's got a sympathetic ear, I guess. I don't know right, how to say it right, but he'll listen to me. Even sometimes he can't help me, but he lets me at least vent and here's my concerns and things like that, and tries to help me as best as he can. I do have a few other people, old family friends that I've reached out to since I've been out, and they said, yeah, anytime, one of the other things I'm really thankful for is I don't have a whole lot of my aunts and uncles that are left. Most of them have passed away, and I do have one uncle left he's homebound. So I've been able to visit him a couple of times, and it makes his day just for me to even call him and to stop by. Like I bring him lunch and me and him sit and have lunch and gab, a little bit. So that's been a blessing. So to spend a little time before he passes. But so yeah.
What do you anticipate as you look at the possibility of a transition here? What are the things that you're going to need to continue to really give focus to, and what challenges, if any, do you anticipate?
I think the biggest thing will be just, getting comfortable being home again. I am comfortable somewhat now there, but it's just, it'll be different once I'm living there full time, but I think everybody's ready for it. They're excited. My grandkids and my daughter and my wife, they all love me, and they're so happy when I'm there. But I think the big thing would be just to stay focused on doing positive things, and when something comes up, talk to someone about it, and that's the great thing about like my people that I've met through Damascus Way. Even when I leave there, I can still reach out to them. We had a couple of staff members there that have moved on to different positions. I still stay in touch with them, and one of them actually has a position where they work with children, teenagers, and I'm hoping that maybe someday I can go there and kind of give my testimony a little bit, about the importance of listening to your parents and not following that bad crowd of people, and things like that, and tell them where I made my mistakes in life and hopefully keep them on a better path.
Excellent. I want to open it up to others, board members who may have questions.
So first off, congratulations on all of your progress and the work that you've done. So one of the things that your case manager referenced is an area of continued growth, is managing kind of frustrations when things don't go as planned. And I suspect we can all probably do that.
Right.
So what does that look like?
Well, that's just reaching out and talking to people. And that's actually gotten kind of easier as time has went on, as I recognize it. Like, well, here's an example. Last Saturday night at 5:30 in the morning, the phone rang. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? And it was my wife calling to tell me my grandson is over in Bahrain. And he was hurt, That's all we knew. And she wanted me to start praying. And so I was like, oh, man, that hit hard, So I got on the text and I started texting everybody, hey, get the prayer chain going. And I just didn't feel like that was enough. So I went out and talked with the staff member that was on duty there, and we sat and we prayed and this talked about things, just talking it out, and that helps. It's gotten easier. So.
And I think that's insightful. Easier, maybe not easy. I think there's a distinction.
The biggest frustration was at the beginning, not getting the job as fast as I wanted, things like that. And once I've gotten all that stuff, it's gotten way easier. So, and now like I said, there's another fellow that came there and I'm able to help him. And I see the deer in the headlights look that I had, and it's kind of funny to me at this point, because I've been in them shoes. I know what you're going through. And he's wanting to go. And I'm like, just slow down, It'll come in time. Give it time and just relax, So.
Okay. Thank you.
Others? Turn it over to you.
That's good. So, I'm the program coordinator at Damascus Way.
Yeah, you can grab the mic too,
I'm the program coordinator at Damascus Way, and I had the awesome pleasure to work alongside Jack. And what we do, being reentry, we like to help guys get ready to go back into society. And I can say Jack came in with one of the best attitudes. Like he just knew that things were going to work out for him. And I think that's really good to have that type of attitude. Sometimes you'll get guys and they're not as confident, and you can see that really affect them as they go out and they try to get jobs and different stuff. It's one of those things, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. But Jack came in with the attitude that I'm ready to do this and I'm ready to do it the right way. And since Jack got there, I think it took him about maybe a couple months to get a job. And he got a job, and I did a walkthrough at his job because that's just standard policy at Damascus Way. And his manager said he was doing very well, so that was good news to me. And then we create an ISP. It's an individual service plan, and we set 5 goals. We'll talk about spirituality, maintaining employment, personal finances, and next phase of housing. And I think for the most part, let's grab this. And we maintain their goals as they go. But Jack wanted to find a home church. That was one of his first goals, and he did at Hope Summit. And we actually have a lot of connections there in the community. So I try to keep close eye, kind of spying on them a little bit just to see how they do, in the community. And from what I hear, Jack is doing really well. He puts himself out there a little bit when it comes to meeting new people. And that's a big deal to me. So that's really, really good as far as that. And maintaining employment. I actually did a walkthrough for another guy yesterday. I was there and I got to see Jack's manager again. And I got to talk to Jack's manager. I was doing a walkthrough for the other guy, but I brought up Jack since he walked past us. I'm like, how's Jack doing? And the manager was just like, basically, he didn't say it in exact words, but it seemed like Jack's one of his main go-to guys. And I just know Jack has this work ethic that it's like it's unmatched. When it comes to giving him a job, he'll do it beyond what you expect. He probably can have my job if he tried hard enough. So I got to talk to the manager and hear that, and that made me really happy that Jack's like employee of the month every month there, it seems like, just because that manager can depend on him. And that meant a lot to me because I think if you a way a guy works, you can see how his outside life, I think it goes hand in hand of what I noticed. So not only that, community engagement, that's one of the biggest things after they're done with Damascus Way, building some type of group therapy, almost I like to call it. And we're a Christian organization, so we always recommend Bible studies and different stuff like that. So Jack has been going to Bible studies consistently, and I actually just went to one with him about 3 weeks ago at the apartments, and he's actually participating. He's asking questions like, okay, so if you're struggling with this, how should we handle it then? And that's a big thing I watch out for too, because a guy can go to Bible studies in different groups and just kind of mark it off, you know what I mean, and not participate. So kind of keeping a close eye on that, it's making me really happy. And then financials, budgeting, so Christmas, we have these little Christmas things where we'll give presents to the guys. And Jack was the first resident that I ever seen. He gifted all of the staff members, $2 bills. And I was just like, wow, that is incredible. But he was able to do that by having a consistent budgeting plan. He's pretty good at saving money. And I think that's very important when you're talking about going back into society, saving for different things. You'll need money to do that for sure. So I think overall, and I want to touch base on that, controlling emotions, because I think all of us have different situations that pop up in our lives. It's how we go about it. And I was telling Shannon about him, expressing some of his frustrations, and I think that's why he said that. And I would say we can come up here and say all of the good things Jack's doing all day to kind of paint this picture for you guys, but he was actually okay with bringing some of the stuff that he's struggling with. And I think that says a lot for somebody that wants to change. You know what I mean? Like he's willing to lay it all out the table, not necessarily just focus on the good, but focus on like, yeah, I do get frustrated over stuff that I can't control. And that's human, that's human, but him actually putting it out there, I say it's a huge, huge thing. And then another thing, since I get the pleasure to meet with Jack at least like once every 2 weeks, I'm constantly seeing his growth. And he's always like spending time with his family. Like majority of his passes, he's with his family, and being part of him getting to know and meet these grandkids that he never had the chance to meet. It's like it makes me emotional because he's actually like taking advantage of that, spending Christmas with him, telling me stories about this little guy, as a Spitfire and different things like that. But he's being involved, rebuilding that relationship with his wife. She stayed loyal to him while he was in, and now they're rebuilding that and seeing how at the beginning how hard it was. At first you're kind of strangers, and then watching them fall in love again. I can be a part of that process too. And I think all in all, I deal with a lot of people. I was the program coordinator at Teen Challenge too, so hundreds of clients at this point. And I think all in all, Jack, I know I can say for sure that when he goes back out to society, he's going to be a great addition to society. And he's amazing at fixing cars. I can sit here and tell you a bunch of different things about Jack, but I think he's going to do great if you guys will allow him to go back out.
Good. Well, thank you. And we thank you for being here. We thank Damascus Way for all the work that you do with people that you serve on our behalf, and it means a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Miselki, I want to, prior to the board moving into a discussion and deliberation about next steps for you, I want to just open the floor to you and give you a chance to make one final comment.
Well, I thought of something while Rodney was speaking that like, there's been a few people that I've came into contact with, like old friends and stuff that when we be talking, they won't look me in the eye, and they'll still talk to me, but it just, there's kind of a distance there. And I kind of understand that. But on the flip side of that, like at the church where I go, I've had complete strangers come up to me and there'll be like 15 people sitting around in like the little waiting room area out there. And hey, I got to run out to my car. Will you keep an eye on my kids? They look around the room and pick me out to ask me to do that. And I'm like, of course, no problem. So I think that's kind of cool that some people don't see that bad side, I mean, some people see the good side.
Your history. Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you. And with that, we'll close this portion of the discussion and open it to the board for discussion and next steps.
Well, I'd like to make a motion for parole.
Okay. So there's a motion for parole that would be roughly 60 days to allow for the assignment of an agent and approval of his release plan, thereabouts. And so we would let HRU determine the specific date once that has been determined, with parole conditions to be established by HRU. In accordance with our general standards, and that also conditioned upon what I would anticipate not to be an issue would be, full compliance with the remainder of your time with work release. So that was the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I second the motion.
Okay, we have a couple of motions, a couple of seconds there. So to the motion. Board Member Bray?
Yes.
Board Member Earhart?
Yes.
Board Member Larson?
Yes.
Board Member Ramstead?
Yes.
And Schnell votes yes. Congratulations, Mr. Miselki. Work release will connect with you and they'll get this, you're referred for agent assignment and approve of your release plan and I'll get you on your way.
Sounds
Good
great.
luck to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
All right.
I'm just a little slow moving. Once I sit, my leg tightens up, so.
I just messaged, your advocate.
Okay, thank you.
So he'll be joining in just a second.
Thank you.
And then you should see him on one of the screens once he's.
Okay, appreciate it.
Ready, Commissioner?
Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Andrew Carlson. I'm the Assistant Director of the Hearings and Release Unit. We are here today for a review of Mr. James Wilford. Mr. Wilford, thank you for being here today. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Also with you today, appearing by video live stream is your advocate, Mr. Justin McNeil. And sir, you are?
Jonathan Dumas.
Jonathan Dumas.
Reentry coordinator.
Okay.
Wayne Golden Valley.
Okay, well, welcome. Thank you for being here. Appearing by video is member Joe Earhart, and then here at the table at central office is our commissioner and chair of the Supervised Release Board, Mr. Paul Schnell, along with member Cheryl Ramstead, member Christine Bray, and member Andrew Larson. Our records indicate that on September 19th, 1985 at approximately 9 a.m., Gertrude Rankins was found dead in her bed due to manual strangulation. Ms. Rankins' hands had been bound with tape and her feet bound with a pillowcase. The medical examiner placed the time of Ms. Rankins' death between 10:30 p.m. on September 18th and 2:30 a.m. on September 19th, 1985. Police staked out the branches of the Citizens State Bank after the bank received 2 calls in the middle of the day on September 19th, 1985. Those calls had been inquiring about the status of Ms. Rankin's checking account balance. James Wilford and Eugene Haywood were arrested in the drive-through lane at the Citizens State Bank in Robbinsdale at 5:35 p.m. on September 19th, as they had been attempting to cash one of Gertrude Rankin's checks made payable to Eugene Haywood for $300. On the front seat of the car, police found Ms. Rankin's checkbook and identification card. In Mr. Wilford's pants pockets, they found Ms. Rankin's driver's license and a pair of green surgical type rubber gloves. Subsequently, Mr. Wilford was found guilty at the Hennepin County District Court for murder in the first degree. In accordance with Minnesota Criminal Code, on March 6, 1986, Mr. Wilford was sentenced to serve a life sentence with a 17-year minimum. On June 10th, 2025, Mr. Wilford was given the opportunity to transition to the work release program. Today's review is his 16th review of his life sentence, and he has served approximately 40.5 years of incarceration. Mr. Wilford's minimum parole eligibility date occurred on September 18th, 2002. Thank you. I turn this matter over to the board.
Good afternoon, Mr. Wilford. How are you today?
doing?
Doing all right.
Yeah.
Are you?
I'm great.
All right. Why don't you start by just talking a little bit about what your time has been like on work release?
My time has been, I probably should say that it's probably the best time I ever had, because as you know, I actually completed. I spent a whole year getting to understand who I am. And I come down to this point, right? Is I stopped doing other people's time and start thinking about me, worrying about what I need and how I need and what I need to do to get there. So I did a lot of work on myself. And, I have a lot of people that I talk to, like I left Lino Lakes in 23, and I was in treatment at that time. So each and every week, I call at least one other therapist and talk to them, and they keep working with me and stuff like that. And I had a hiccup, because my agent Shannon, she had said about to get a job or something, And at that time, I didn't think that I could even get a job because, I'm up there in age and everything. And so I feel like I couldn't get it because I tried and it didn't work out. And I was actually scared because this is somewhere I've never been before. I never felt like I could get a place to live. And that was the one thing that always bothered me the whole time I was there. But unfortunately, I was blessed enough that I got the caddy waiver, and the county paying for me for 1 year to stay somewhere. So I got all that out the way. So that took away a lot of the stress that I had. And now it's just moving forward. I would like to go to that house where I'm living at as quick as possible, because I've been waiting on, they've been waiting on me to go there. The money and everything's in place. I have to pay third of whatever I earn. And I would like to start drawing my Social Security and stuff like that. But overall, it's been great. I've been talking to people. The Master's Way been great. I couldn't have been to a better place. I go to church every Sunday that he teaches, and some chain breakers. There's a lot of stuff that I learned. I know when I get to where I'm going, that I'll be able to call back there and talk to the people like DeAndre, Kevin, all these different people. I'll be able to do that. And the most thing for me is I got an opportunity to spend some time with my daughter and her grandkids. It was every Saturday I go there, and it's so great. I got an opportunity. I talk to my sisters and brothers. They don't want to see me go back. My daughter don't want to see me go back. So I got something that really I'm looking forward to, And then Jessica McNeil, who is my advocate, quick as things I get out of work release, I'll be able to take my test for my peer recovery specialist. So I'm gonna just ride with him and he gonna get me just somewhere to talk and tell my story and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm looking forward to do, because I think that I never had a better opportunity than I do now.
Do you, it sounds like you've really done, I mean, a great job of maintaining connections with support.
Right.
Would you agree with this proposition that if you started to disconnect from people, that's a bad sign?
Yes, I know that for a fact because that's what I've done in the past. And I've learned to stop being afraid and talk to people that if I have a problem and I can't get to it, because I learned how to pull back because I recognize flags now. So I learned how to kind of pull back and look at it myself and see it. Then if I can't work through it, I'll call somebody else to help me out or tell, hey, this is this is how I feel. And this is what I'm thinking right now. And get just enough time to give me an opportunity to look at what's going on and to just like challenge my thinking, because that's been my downfall a lot. Right. It's not challenging it, just thinking that it'll just go away.
So I think that's really important. And I think it's important not just that, you do what you're doing, like asking for that help and seeking it but making sure that you invite people around you to say, hey, I'm seeing something, right? That you're distant or whatever, because that's really, and I know you're going to be in environments where there's support and so forth. So that, that's going to be really important and helpful as you go forward. But I think, that's just going to be really key, is making, you were incarcerated for a long, long time.
Yes.
And you're in the community now, and that's been positive. And yet, we want to make sure that continues as you go forward.
Right.
Other questions from board members?
Mr. Will,
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
and just looking at your release planning, what do you have planned in terms of work to supplement your Social Security or other benefits?
Well, at this time, I don't have a job, but once I get situated, I'm gonna try to get some type of part-time job because I have a lot of medical issues. My legs swell up. I got diabetes, so I can't stand a lot. I have to stand and sit, so I have to try to find the right job for that. But in the process, I have saved some money because I had the opportunity to work at the bridge since I've been there as a operating specialist. And I saved most of my money that I had. So I got a few $1,000s saved up that I would be able to use until I can find something that I can do. Because I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm trying to get a job and I can't really do it. So that was my plan. And could I end one more thing? As quick as I get out of the bridge, I have to take my certification on my peer recovery specialist. So that's my goal. That's what I want to do. So.
Are you looking into other jobs?
Yes, I am.
Have you found any yet that you were able to do physically?
No, I didn't.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Other questions? Let me turn to Mr. McNeil. We've had a lot of Justin McNeil today.
Yes.
He's on screen.
Oh, okay.
You'll see him there.
Oh, okay. Oh,
so we'll turn to you and just open the floor to you.
Yes, Mr. Wilford, I wish I could have been there in person. I was just on a couple different hearings today, so there was no time to drive down.
Okay.
So it has been a privilege to work with him once he got out. Got in touch with me right away. I visited him 4 or 5 times at the bridge. I gave him a reentry packet that I've built, and right away he started working on it and built a much more robust reentry plan that has a lot more factors in it than it did before. And it was one of his directives when you released him to work release, was that, hey, we need to have some more, and I need you to think about your supports and all of that. And so he did all of that. And we had a lot of extensive conversations about things that might be stressing him out. Avoiding relationships right away, you know, focusing on him instead of immediately getting into a relationship, which could derail a lot of things, which was one of the factors that led him to his violation last time, as he told me. And so it's just been great to see. And then he has this approval for a caddy waiver, and this caddy waiver gets him housing, it gets him health support, they help him with medications, really with any sort of resource he needs. And so he's got this just waiting for him for whenever, you know, if he gets granted parole today, he can immediately start working on that. And then, as he mentioned, when it comes to employment, we can get him going on his peer recovery test. And once he gets certified, we can start looking out in the field for what jobs are available. And I also offered to him, we do a lot of different criminal justice trainings at Begin Anew, that if he would like, he could speak at those as well and tell his story or factors of what he found worked for him and didn't work. Because when individuals start to work with people in the reentry space, it's good to hear those stories. And so working with him, I don't really have any negative feedback or anything to say that he wasn't doing. And it was just really great to see, after having so many years, as you mentioned in the beginning of this hearing, of incarceration, he's finally getting it, and he's listening to others, and he's open to the feedback and open to adjusting things when you say, hey, maybe that might not be the best and we should try this. He's been completely open to it. And then he showed up to the bridge every single day and did that, and got there on time and was working. And you know, the bridge program's ending now, from what I heard. It's almost perfect timing, because here we are at this hearing. And so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just from anything that you'd like to add from a Damascus Way perspective, if you want to grab the mic there, slide the mic over.
Yeah, James, his overall adjustment have been excellent. He's always accountable. He don't know it. He don't even know it, but we've been using him as a peer the whole time he's been at Damascus Way. We have 30 guys in the program, and we have an extra room for the best resident. And he has that room because when he's around, he brings peace. You know, all the guys look up to him in the house. And he's a great man. And when my door where I work, it stays open. Guys come in over other guys. If you need me more, you come in, you just come holler a little louder, you know. But James, when he got something to tell you, he's gonna wait, and he's not gonna hold it. He's gonna let you know. He makes my job real easy, because he's always organized, you know, and he follows up on everything. He attends the service every Sunday that we have, the in-house service, and we have something every fourth Friday of the month. He's always there. He put the chairs out. He opens up in prayer. I mean, he's just been an excellent resident at the time he's at Damascus Way, and he's well planned. And the place where he's going at, we have guys been there before that lives there. We connected with them. So even if they see flags, well, she's gonna stay connected with us, because it's not gonna be that far from where we at. Hopefully, we'll be able to get him to still keep coming to church, to our service, and maybe even start speaking. And I can even see him possibly coming back to Damascus Way and do some peer recovery work. So it's been he started out at Midwest Challenge, and he came to Damascus Way during the time. Yep. And he just brought a solid stability in the house for some of these younger guys, and we just can't say enough about him. All the staff love him, all the residents love him. They look up to him. And I can see that continuing, you know.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, I was there, I visited there, I had a meeting there and I was able to check out the room that you got there, the designated room that you're in. So that's good. All right. Well, Mr. Wilford, before the board begins discussion of next steps, I want to just open the floor to you for any final comment.
I just want to thank everyone that was there for me when I needed them, like Jonathan, DeAndre, Shannon, Kevin, all them, Marie, young Rhonda, Robin, and Holly. They was there, Holly the psychiatrist, you know, so I talked to her a lot. But all of them was there for me to make sure that I got to where I'm here today. And, you know, I know that I can depend on them, and I can say that I would not stop doing what I'm doing because I enjoy this life. I'm happy, and that's something I haven't been. So I appreciate everything.
Good. Well, thank you. And I'm glad to hear that. And, you know, while I think you have done a remarkable job, you know, you just know that there's still much expected, right? That there was a person who, you know, whose life you took and impacted, and that demands that you live your best life, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Get back.
All right. With that, we're going to close the discussion. And during board discussion and deliberation, the board will not entertain any questions or allow interruptions. And with that, I'll open it to the board.
Well, I'll make a motion for parole.
Okay, there's a motion to grant parole, and I'll just would lay out some of the standard stuff. So we, you know, given the caddy waiver, we would try to expedite that agent assignment and get everything moving since the waiver's in place. Placements in there to the extent possible, and HRU can set the final date if the board approves that. Obviously, it's conditioned upon you continuing to be fully compliant with all requirements. And HRU would establish any standards or expectations for your parole once granted, should it be granted. And we go from there. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Motion is seconded. All right. And any other discussion? Hearing none. To the motion, Board Member Bray,
Yes.
Board Member Earhart,
Yes.
Board Member Larson,
Yes.
Board Member Ramstead,
Yes.
and Schnell votes yes. Mr. Wilford, parole is being granted. Will be finalized as soon as work release can make the arrangements and an agent is assigned and your release plan is approved.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
luck to you. We
Appreciate it.
look forward to hearing how you do, and we expect much. Okay.
Thank you, and you will get much.
All right. You
Sarah,
take
how you
care.
doing?
All right. We have just one little bit of business, just for people's awareness. We do have a discharge application that is under consideration. And I believe that was information was forwarded, correct? No? Okay.
To talk with the rest of the board members about the victim involvement.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There was, this was, the question really was the extent to which we want to open up the floor to have victims have the opportunity to come in. And if that's something that the board, as a matter of policy, in terms of discharge, how you would like to handle that. And I think, one of the thoughts is that we could provide the opportunity for victims, if they chose, to either come and provide that input in person or similarly, as we do in other cases where that could be done in, behind closed doors with the board. Is that something that we would like to have done as a matter of a course of business going forward?
The one thing I remember we said last time Cheryl was missing.
That's right.
And we also talked about the 2 juvenile people missing.
Don and Jody wouldn't have a vote in these cases.
Okay.
They're not the juvenile.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I don't see a problem with it, except it would be hard to say no at such a late stage in the game if the person has done everything right for the last 10 years, which I think was the case.
Yeah, I think that's what does end up happening. We do have cases where people end up. We have people that have been on parole for decades, but I think what's also important to note, and I think Andrew can certainly speak to this as well. But what happens is after you have somebody who's on supervision this long, and that kind of stuff they've done so well, supervision really does taper. That the amount of contact drops off, and I think it's just important for people to understand that's a reality based on demonstrated ongoing success and compliance, and yet. These are life sentences, and we have the ability to continue them for as long as possible. But discharge is within our authority.
Yeah, and I agree. I think one of the values of that is it provides an opportunity for the person to have demonstrated that they have gone back into society. They have been successful for that prolonged period of time. I personally don't have an issue. I mean, I think the victim involvement is really a significant part of this whole process. So I personally don't have an issue. I think it makes some sense to provide them that opportunity. Whether or not they choose to participate in that or not is a separate story. But yeah, I think it makes sense to provide them that opportunity.
And I think just to relate it a little bit to what you're talking about, and I think, one of the things to know is that always the assigned agent will be providing a report and a recommendation to us. And, they're the people who would know kind of best, like what they have done in terms of compliance, both compliance as well as, steps of demonstrated continuance of change. And so that's always going to be a part of the process as well.
I'm just remembering all the victim witness hearings that I've sat through, and I've sat through everyone where I've been here person to person. So I've felt the emotional impact. And there have been countless people who've said that it reopens the wound and that they almost feel obligated to come in on behalf of the deceased to be able to represent him or her. And it seems to me if a person or victims are really interested, they will be able to follow the case progress without necessarily having us reopen the wound. And I just hate to see that occur again because, we've heard it time and time and time again. And I've struggled to figure out, what could we do differently? And this doesn't seem like a step in the right direction.
I hear what you're saying. At the same time, it's to have a victim not have that opportunity. It just, if they so chose to participate, it can be hard because I agree with you. It does open a wound and for people. But I would worry about the system, the response of the system if all of a sudden somebody found out, that they're on lifetime, they have a lifetime sentence and they're going to be subject to parole for the remainder of their life, when in fact discharge was granted based upon a good case for that. And perhaps there is something that a victim could bring forward. I don't know what that would look like. That could say there's a reason not to consider it. I don't know. I can't imagine exactly what that scenario would look like, but it is a struggle. And at the same time, I think over the course of time, one of the things that I think has been interesting for me over the last 7+ years now has been, the intensity of that emotion on the part of these families. And while they do feel this need to speak for and on behalf of their loved one, I also think there is an important part of at least knowing that the system is going to continue to engage them and has had them on supervision for whatever period of time is out there. And while discharge may be a hard reality for people, some to face, I feel like I can't imagine what it would be like to not be included in that process if I was included in everything else. That's just.
Do you have any idea how many cases this would affect? How many per year or how many?
It's a relatively small number. I mean, you're probably you're going to start to see those numbers increase over time. Because I think, when you look at Commissioner Roy's term is when we started to see parole numbers increase. And now, some of those people, that's 15 years ago, the early cases. So over the course of time, you're going to see them, but it's still not massively large numbers. Again, that 10-year is the minimum before people can apply.
I think the only thing I'd say to you, I get what you're saying. They do have a choice. The victim survivors, they do always have a choice whether to come in or not. And they make that choice depending on all their personal factors. So I kind of agree to say, no, sorry, you can't come now would be difficult.
And I too have struggled with this because I agree it is, we've heard it time and time again, that it is reopening a wound. And then I go to, somewhat to what you said. Me personally, I would rather err on the side of having provided them that opportunity than not. I don't think there is a perfect answer, and each case is going to be unique in and of itself. So again, I'd rather err on the side we provided them the opportunity versus no, we're not going to hear from you anymore. So that's just me personally, but I completely understand where you're coming from too.
The other reality I think we have to recognize is that when a change like this occurs, there will be a notification. So if we didn't, have and at least invite a victim, and they're registered in Haven, they would receive a notification of a change in status. And so I think that would be hard to get a change in status and not have had the chance at least to know or weigh in. So I think just by way of this, I think it would be nice if we could move just not so much specific to this particular case. We would look at this case next time, the specifics of this, or whenever we could make arrangements with the victim if they so choose to provide input. But I think it would be nice if we, as a matter of policy, could take an action here, and if somebody would like to move a process, that would be great.
I would make that motion that when considering discharge from supervision for these cases, that surviving victims be provided the opportunity to provide feedback.
And there's a motion and there is a second. Any further discussion? To the motion, Board Member Bray?
Yes.
Board Member Earhart?
Yes.
Board Member Larson?
Yes.
Member Ramstead?
I'm going to say yes, because I think, Paul, you made a really good point in that people are notified after the fact, and to have that come and blindside people doesn't feel good.
Yeah,
So
and by-
I agree on that basis.
Okay, and Schnell votes yes. So that will be, as a matter of policy, where we sit going forward. The second new item, business, the legislative report has been submitted. I think everybody has received a copy of that. That has been turned over to the chairs and ranking members of the House and Senate. We have not received any feedback or questions at this point in time, but there may be on that. And just a way just to provide people with a bit of an update, we do know that the process for reappointment is underway. That's being reviewed, and we would anticipate decisions made hopefully sometime late this month, is what we're hearing. So we'll let people know on that. The next item would be, is there someone who would offer a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the February 13th meeting?
I move.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We'll do a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion prevails. They're approved. We have no one signed up for public comment. The next meeting of the Supervised Release Board is Tuesday, March 24th, here at the Department of Corrections. And with that, I would entertain a non-debatable motion to adjourn.
I move.
And a second?
Second.
And we're adjourned. Thank you.